All right, we're gonna
I just
start
had to go
now.
there.
Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, and today I have Gigo. I'm sorry, I'm tripping over your name already. Can you give it
So
to me?
good.
Give it to
You
me
said
one more
it fine
time.
like 5 minutes ago.
I know. Give it to me one more time, or introduce yourself for the people watching, please. I
Hi,
apologize.
I'm Diogo Nogueira from Brazil. I'm the author of Sharp Swords and Sinister Spells, and now I'm about to release Solar Blades and Cosmic Spells through a crowdfunding on Indiegogo.
All right. So, and again, I apologize. I trip over even easy words. So, I shouldn't say easy words that are common to me. Yeah. I had seen I'd seen someone post about the game that you're working on right now, and I thought it looked it caught my attention, and the art looked fantastic, and it looked like a fun science fantasy type game. And this is not your first game either. So Solar Blades and Cosmic Spells isn't your first game. You've also have another one out on uh, RPG Now and RPG Drive Through, which you guys can find links in the description as well. So
Yeah,
do you want to tell us a little bit about Solar Blades and Cosmic Spells?
yeah. Well, Solar Blades and Cosmic Spells is this science fantasy game, but I really tried to make it more like a sword and sorcery kind of game, but in space. Like all the tropes you have from sword and sorcery, like this magic that corrupts the soul and the body of mortals that try to mess with it. It's in there. Like this focus on more personal characters trying to make do in this kind of dark world. Like they are adventurers looking for credits, fame, glory, and there's corrupt cities, corrupt governments, and despots who try to force their will over the species of the galaxy. So it's like a sword and sorcery amongst the stars.
But you're using credits too.
Yes, yes.
So so are there starships? How are people getting around? Is it like Spelljammer where they're flying boats?
No, they have starships. I like Spelljammer, but I my vision for the game is like there was this more ancient civilization that was the climax of advancement in the universe. But once the people, a sorcerer discovered sorcery, created sorcery through a breach to the void, sorcery started to corrupt the galaxy, the universe, and corrupt the minds of some of these more influential people. And a war broke over, like this cleansing wars to eliminate all the known important species and in the eyes of those sorcerers, those evil sorcerers, and all the advancements and technology that was used for many other things like culture, arts, and maybe even entertainment was turned. All the resources were turned to war, basically developing weapons and controlling what other factions were doing. So like starships, there is really advanced technology, but they are like magic items in like a fantasy setting. They are like treasures of the glorious past. Like most of the people don't have access to starships or even internet, as we know. They may have like a ragged robot that do some household activities or help them with their work, but to have a spaceship is like something really important. Like the initial setup, characters start with a starship, but the starship always has like a complication. Maybe they stole it from someone, or maybe it has some defect that can put them into some sort of trouble. So yeah, starships exist and they're valuable. And if a galactic overlord can take your starship out of your hands, he will do it because technology gives power to people, and people with power try to be more independent. And the rulers of the universe don't want people to be independent.
So Solar Blades, lightsabers.
Yes, something like that. But you actually have to catch the solar crystals and these were discovered to fight the corruptive powers of sorcery. So it's like light versus dark. Yeah, it's really inspired by Star Wars, by even Dark Sun, Firefly, Dune, and heavy metal comics.
That was my next question, like for inspiration. Because when I kind of look at it too, I also think of like Thundar the Barbarian and
Oh yeah,
sure. Some older stuff.
In the Indiegogo page, there is a link to the complete draft documents of the game, like the whole game. Everyone can access and read the game right now. And right in the end of it, there's an appendix to describe what were my influence. Films, movies, comics, literature, video games, role-playing games, everything that I drew upon to make this game. And I'm not ashamed to say that I was really inspired by a lot of things. And even my game system is really based on a lot of game system. It has a little bit of White Hack, a little bit of Black Hack, a little bit of Call of Cthulhu, a little bit of Dungeon Crawl Classics, Beyond the Wall. There's a lot of games that forged my own game and my own interpretation of them.
So there's two things in the chat. We have a question from Cardboard Fortress, and Aaron Parks has a statement. Thundar was awesome. You know what? Actually, it's only awesome in our memories. It came on like Boomerang or something, and my kids were in the room, and I put it on, and I made them watch it for like after like 3 to 5 minutes. They were begging me to turn it off because it was so bad, and it was bad.
I don't know if my kid would watch it, but I downloaded it and I started watching, and there's some. Of course, we really have this nostalgic view of it, but there is some small bits that we can steal today to make adventures and steal ideas from there.
Oh yeah, there's always things to take in nuggets. So the actual question from Cardboard Fortress is the universe in sort of a technological dark ages like in Warhammer? Do people have the knowledge to maintain the tech?
No, it's like Warhammer. There's like this dark age. Well, I mean, the rulers of the galaxy, like these galactic overlords and their servants, they maintain some of the technology. They still have the power to maintain it, but most of the population and the sectors are like in a dark age of technology, and only those with privilege have access to it. There may be like some hidden paradise where this technology is still maintained, but most of all, like the standard setup is really, if you lose a piece of technology, you won't be able to replace it.
What does character creation look like? Is it a class-based system?
Yes, but there is something more. Like we have this duo. You have an archetype that's like the type of character you are. There's like the tough, the nimble, the smart, and the gifted. Like the tough is the strong guy, the resistance character that it's good for melee combat and resisting and enduring situations that stress your body. There is the nimble, that's more the agile guy. The guy is good with stealth and like the rogue. There is the smart, that's the guy specialized in technology. He can fix stuff. He can create gadgets with parts. And there's the gifted, who's more, he can be a sorcerer, he can be a mentalist. But besides that, we have what we call the character concept. So you can be the tough guy, like the strong, but who are you? You can be like this honor-bound ex-gladiator from the frontiers. So every time you do an action that can benefit from this background, like this concept you created, you have advantages on the test. But since you're honor-bound, sometimes when you're going to betray someone, the referee can impose you a penalty or offer you unluck points for you to accept to fail the action automatically or to put yourself in a complicated situation. And you can be a gladiator. You can say you are a knight. You can say you are a mercenary. You can create your concept. There's no list of set concepts. So for the gifted, you can say you are a necromancer. You can say you are an elementalist. You can say anything like the nimble. You can say you are a smuggler. You can say you are an assassin. So if you're doing an action it's related to your concept, you got advantage. But if your concept would put you in a difficult situation, you get a penalty.
So we were talking a little bit before we got started, and you're like, you borrowed some things from Fate and from different things. That sounds a lot Fate-ish.
Yes. There's a lot like the core concept from Fate, like the main aspect of the character. So yeah, it's really inspired on Fate. White Hack has some of it, and I remember John Wick made a review of my first game, the Sharp Sword and Sinister Spell, and he mentioned that this was actually from a game from the 90s. I don't remember the name of the game. So I mean, probably Fate got from that game, and I got it from Fate, and it started rolling.
So Marcus wants to know if He-Man, can I build He-Man?
Well, you mean like transforming yourself from this funny guy into this Might Warrior? The game has this concept of allowing characters to get special abilities that are not building the characters. Like, so okay, you want to learn how to transform yourself in this legendary warrior? Cool, let's build an adventure around this. And if you can complete the adventure, you can get the power. Like, you can get the special ability. So if people really want something special, talk to the referee, and we can create something you have to accomplish inside the game to get this special ability, special power.
So he says what he means is the planet Eternia, which it kind of sounds like that anyway, a mix of technology and, medieval themes. Yeah,
He-Man and Master of the Universe it's indicated in the appendix that talks about inspiration and things I based the game on, and you can use to create stuff for the game. So sure.
So did you use the same mechanics for this game as you did for Sinister Blades?
Yeah, Solar Blades and Cosmic Spells takes the Sharp Swords and Sinister Spell system and kind of makes a revised version of it. So it's basically the same rules, but instead of using all types of dice like D20s, D4, D6, the D8, I just use D20 and the D6. But the game is pretty much the same, just because I use the dice chain, I have to adapt some probabilities. But the concepts are really basically the same. Of course, I have rules for vehicle combat that I didn't have on Sharp Swords, but it's basically the same game.
Would you be able to easily port stuff from one game into the other?
Oh yeah, and eventually I plan to publish a revised edition of Sharp Swords to make it exactly the same system.
But you can.
Yeah, and the Sharp Swords, Sharp Swords has two books, the core book and the addendum. And Solar Blades kind of merge the two together, so the optional rules in the addendum are in Solar Blades. So that's why Solar Blades is like a bigger book than Sharp Swords too.
And Vamp Jaeger wants to know, or Vamp Jaeger, what constitutes the cosmic? How big is the cosmos?
Well, I try to leave it open-ended. Like I have these sector generators. You can generate all kinds of sectors and what's inside them, what's happening in them. There is this faction, the leaders, but you generate what is true and what is not for each sector. But there is this prismatic nebula that surrounds the known galaxies and known sectors. So what's beyond that, it's like open-ended. And I even suggest maybe using other settings. I even talk about settings in the USR, like, okay, after this nebula, you can use this setting or that setting and just create your own stuff.
There's a comment. Oh, Tea Time with Toby. OMG, a party of Thundercats. So it sounds like you could really easily do that. So is there different like races or species?
Yes. And since you use the character concept to establish things about the character, you can establish her from a different race. And the rules for creating races is really, really simple. So if you put a special ability, you just have to have more adventures to level up. So there's like three non-human species ready in the book. So we teach how to create other species, but you can. We encourage players and referees to create their own different species. Like most of the games I've run, just one player chooses a species from the book. Most of them, when they are not playing humans, they just invent their own species. Like, oh, I want to be this kind of species, like this cockroach man. Oh, I want to be this lizard man with 2 heads, and they start to creating and say, yeah, sure. Okay, you want to have this special abilities? Okay, so you need one more adventure to level up than the other characters, and things like that. So it's really easy to create other species and other cultures.
So it is level based then, as well.
Yes, but you basically when you level up, you gain really just a little bit of hit points, like just 1 for most of the characters and 2 for the tough. And you have a chance to improve some of your attributes, and your special abilities from the archetypes improve a little. Like you can do most of things better. But for you to gain really extraordinary powers, I encourage players and game masters to really create adventures specifically to acquire such special abilities, like being able to enter like a berserker rage or changing your form to something else.
So we have a follow-up by Vamp Yeager, and also I'm just gonna I guess I have my own question of, and it's since it's kind of like an OSR game or has that feel, does that mean it's like super lethal as well?
Well, since it's a OSR game, like it has this challenge the player, not the character kind of mentality. So you don't have too many abilities for a character. Like we try to encourage players to use more creativity and create stuff. But it's also a sword and sorcery space, and characters from Sword and Sorcery Tales are usually much more competent than first level characters in old school D&D, right? Even Farfather and Grey Mouser, when they were starting their adventures, they were really competent. So characters in Sharp Sword and Sensor Spells and Stormblades are really more competent than normal OSR characters. The game can still be very lethal because, well, laser guns and things like that can be quite lethal. But they're really more competent. Like it's not like the thief from the Rune Encyclopedia that only has like 10% of picking pockets. You can pick pockets. You can actually do the stuff you want to do. And you sustain more damage. Like you won't die with 1 attack. Characters usually have about 10 hit points at least, 10 to 12. And most of the weapons do 1d6 point of damage. If they crit, they can do more. But you normally won't die with just 1 attack.
But it sounds like if they crit, maybe you can.
Yes, if they crit, maybe you can. But armor absorbs damage instead of just making it difficult to hit. And even if you die, you can use your luck to survive. But you can die. Most of the one shots I GM'd for it. Some people have died. And I just ran a session last weekend, and half of the group died, but mainly because they split up too much. Like I have like 7 players, and 3 of them wanted to go alone, do their own thing, and the other 4 actually managed to escape the prison. 1 of them died, but the other 3 died because they just split up and tried to do things by their own. And in a prison with open rebellion against the guards and all these factions and gangs, that's not very smart to do, I guess.
So now the question Vamp Yeager had was on on Cosmic. So follow up on the up question on Cosmic Question: can a character or multiple characters become powerful enough to change the cosmic forces or change the cosmos?
Well, yes, I hope so. That's there is many issues saying that maybe the characters can betray. They can work for the rulers, the galactic overlords. They can betray them. They can acquire artifacts that enable them to challenge these overlords. And just like Dark Sun have this phase when the Sorcerer Kringfon, the Seed of Tyr, was defeated. There is a sector in the universe that the Overlord was just defeated, and it's kind of this chaos. Who's gonna rule this sector? There's like a power vacuum. Like this Overlord was defeated. The guys who defeated them are basically adventurers. They are trying to rule the sector, but they don't have no idea how to do that. So
they're ruling it, but ruling it poorly.
Yes, because they're more concerned in doing stuff than to administer resources and things like that.
It's true. Adventurers are terrible at administrating.
Yeah.
Cardboard Fortress wants to know if characters ride around on ships, how do you approach ship combat?
Well, it's really, I try to focus more on what characters can do, what are their abilities. So I didn't make like a too tactical system for ship combat. Basically, starships will limit what you can do. Like if you have a really nimble character that can do all sorts of maneuvers, but if you're using a really gigantic ship that's not really well suited to make spins and loops, the starship will limit your effective agility to do this kind of maneuvers. And the same thing with a target system. There are some ships that were built for combat, so they have a really good weapons and target systems. So you probably will be able to use your full range of abilities with that. But if you're using like a transport ship that was not even modified for combat, your target systems will be really clumsy, so you won't be able to use your full attribute. Like in starships, you fire with intellect, because you have to use the systems. So if you have an intellect of 14 and you are using a starship that has a target system of 10, your effective intellect for combat with starship will be 10. But there is rooms for scaling too, like a gigantic starship trying to fire on a person on the surface of the planet. They would be really hard to hit the character, but if they hit it, they will do a lot of damage. The other way around, the character, if they have a weapon that can reach their starship, it will be really easy because it's a gigantic starship, but the damage will be really small, so they would have to get a really good weapon to actually fire through the hull and the shields of the starship.
So, kind of like following up on that, Cardboard Fortress, so the ship becomes an avatar of the pilot, essentially, but what about the rest of the party? How do you integrate starship combat as far as the party? Is it one person is flying the ship and doing everything, or is it break up into stations?
I try to make create situations, everything that everybody can take part of combat. So my character can be the pilot doing maneuvers to stay out of reach of other combatants and making it difficult for other ships to hit them. One can be the gunner, can be multiple gunners to fire the starships. There can be the guy from operating the sensors, maybe to detect some weakness on the other starships. So maybe jamming their sensors to make it difficult for them to detect them or to target them. The mechanic can do jury rigging, like they took damage on combat, they can go there and fix something up just to survive this battle, or they can reroute the circuits to give more power to weapons or to the engine so they can try to escape from a battle they can't win. I really thought about that on designing the game. I want the spaceship battles to be more inclusive as possible. I want everybody to have an opportunity to do something on combat. Because I've experienced games that like one person is just piloting the ship and doing everything and everybody else just standing there bored. So I wanted to make it possible for everybody to have something to do in combat.
That is definitely the tricky part about having, starship combat. But I think game designers are getting better at at fixing that. I mean, making it interesting for everyone that's involved, and realizing it's not fun to just watch one person do a starship battle.
Yeah. I try to make that options for every kind of archetype has some way to contribute something. Even they're not like destroying other ships, they may make other ships more easily to be targeted, or maybe they can protect their other characters, their other companions on the ships, and giving bonus to them or something like that.
Is there a piece of the game that you were the most proud or excited about bringing into the RPG community?
Well, I really like the magic system of the game. It's basically the same as Sharp Sword and Sinister Spells. It's not a Vancian magic system, like spells and you can use them as you want, but it's not safe to use it all the time, because every time you use it, things can go just fine, or you can suffer a backlash, or you can suffer corruption, since the spell system is based on magic is from the chaos, and chaos corrupts the mortal soul and mortal body. And well, I'm proud of taking my favorite parts of lots of different games, simplifying it for my own, and merge them together. So I could say I'm proud of the complications system that allows player to give a card to the GM and say, okay, I need some more luck in this game right now, so I'm going to activate my complication, and I'm giving you permission to make my life harder anytime you want, but I need this boost of luck right now. And this is really based on Edge of the Empire, the Star Wars RPG from Fantasy Flight. I like the push the roll mechanic that I stole from Call of Cthulhu and put on the game. But I think all of these pieces that I combined from many different games and interpreted them to my own game makes the game really have this sword and sorcerer attitude, like this high octane action, but characters have complicated lives and things can go wrong at any moment, but they can deal with that with creativity and proactivity. And I'm proud of that, of taking my favorite parts of many different games that I really love and doing something with them to create my own thing.
So you mentioned luck a couple times. How does that play into things?
Luck has been in games since like the Advanced Fighting Fantasy games, right? When something happens that there is no relationship with your character abilities, like maybe you are jumping over this wall to enter the tower of this cyber wizard to steal his inventions and these ancient artifacts. Maybe is there a patrol just strolling by at that moment? We don't know. Just roll your luck. Maybe there is, maybe there is not. Or maybe you just found an armory and you're really looking for this specific kind of weapon. Like, I want this repeating blast rifle. Is there something there? I don't know. You want that? You can make a luck roll. And there's even some mechanics in game, like spells that alter your luck, make your luck higher or smaller. And the game also offers the chance for the character to preserve, because if they fail their luck roll, their luck goes down. So as much they try their luck will get lower and lower. And if you reach 0 hit points, if someone tries to revive you, you make a luck roll. So if you depend too much on your luck when you need it, it might not be there. And players have the option to, okay, I won't try my luck. Okay, I need a luck check for this engine to be working, so I can take it and put on my starship that is broken. Well, but I think I will need this luck later, so no, I will automatically fail the luck check. Won't make the luck roll, but I will preserve my luck stats. So it's like this resource management for something that can be really useful and that can save your life sometimes.
So, Cardboard Fortress wants to know, thinking about your races system, is there a flaw system? For instance, if I wanted to play a species without hands, for instance, could I get some extra benefit to balance that?
Yeah, of course. Like the basic cost of having a special ability is needing an extra adventure to level up. But you can always balance with something bad. Like, okay, my character can really sense the intentions of everyone around them. So they have this always turned on, like extra sensorial perception, so that he can never be surprised, and it has a bonus to dodge attacks. Okay, that's really powerful. Okay, but I take every time I take damage, I start bleeding and suffer additional points of damage every turn. So this can balance in powers and may even allow the referee to allow the player to have this ability without paying the extra adventure cost. Like the extra adventure to level up the basic cost, but you can create these adventures to balance things out too.
So right now you have an Indiegogo going on, and folks, you can check out the description on on YouTube and Facebook. If you happen to be watching on Twitch, you can just head over there, and I'm sure if you also Google, you can find it as well. And that is to make the actual books.
Yeah, that's the kind of campaign that is fulfilled by Drive-Thru RPG. Like all the funds are going to make the book better, like paying editor, proofreading, cover artist, interior artist. I do interior artwork, but I'm not charging anything for the product. I'm not making any money. I just want to pay all the contributors that's working with me on the project. But normally people will get the print at cost coupon from Drive-Thru RPG. They won't get the actual books. They'll have the print at cost coupon, and then can print the book on Drive-Thru RPG or RPG Now, wherever they want.
Excellent. So you talked about before we got started. You're gonna be in the States. You're from Brazil, but you're gonna be at Gen Con. So if people find you, can they get you to run a game for them or find games to jump in?
Yeah, of course. I would be really enthusiastic about it. I would be really glad if someone finds me and talk about something I've made. I will be super happy and super excited to talk about it. Of course.
So if you happen to be at Gen Con, you can stalk them down over there and get into a game of solar blades and cosmic spells.
If you want to find me, I'll probably be with the DCC RPG crew. I will be running 6 games of Dungeon Crawl Classics on the books of Gen Con, but I'll also be on the after hours on Embassy Suites, the bar on Embassy Suites, so people play games there. So want to head there, I'll be there playing or GMing stuff too.
So Dungeon Crawl Classics, was that kind of your jam before you started making your own games?
Yeah, well, I've started playing with D&D, the Black Blocks. Was like the basic for Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition. But I played through all Dungeons and Dragons editions, and by the time of 4th edition, I tried to play 4th edition, but it wasn't really my thing. So I started looking around what other people were playing, and I discovered the OSR and indie games. I played some story games and stuff, but I really fell in love with the old school Renaissance crowd and the do-it-yourself mentality. And I found out about Dungeon Crawl Classics in 2012 when they were really releasing the game, and it was love on first sight. It's still probably one of my favorite games of all time.
So Cardboard Fortress is loving the thumbnail art as well as the stuff you have over there and the logo. So who do you have working on the book for you for art, doing the art?
Well, I have a lot of artists from Brazil. Like the 2 covers are for Bruno Prosaico and Dan Ramos. And I have Rafael Balbi, Lucas Pieronsky, and other artists are here from Brazil. I do art myself. There's a couple of pieces there, and one of the pledge levels on the Kickstarter is to actually get the books and original piece I drew myself. But I have some international artists too, like Alex Mayo, that do art for Lamentation from Princess and other games. I have Dennis Mackenzie that drew some artwork for Sword and Wizard stuff and other OSR zines. I have Wayne Snyder that did some art for Dungeon Crawl Classics zines. Since I'm like a guy that hangs around OSR stuff, I sought OSR artists that I liked their work, and to commission art for them. I have some from Per Palmer. I'm trying to hire Brandon Mike David, but he has like a really tight schedule. I would love to be able to hire Peter Mullin. I really love his artwork, and maybe Russ Nicholson. But I don't know if I can afford these legends of RPG illustrations. But I really hope so.
Well, that's quite a list there. That's a lot of artists that you're working with, and then a long list of a wish list as well.
Yeah. Well, when I will release the Sharp Sword and Sinister Spells Revised Edition, I really hope I can hire John Hodgson to make a cover that does the Demon Ring stuff, and he's the art director for Cubicle 7 that do the things from Lord of the Rings for D&D 5th edition too. I really like his art.
Yeah, Cardboard Fortress says, man, more Bruno Prosacco. I'm probably butchering the hell out of that.
Yeah, if we reach $5,000, we'll hire him to do 5 pages of comics to use as an introduction for the book. Like the Werewolf the Apocalypse comics in the beginning of the book, we'll have comics for Solar Blades and Cosmic Spells in the beginning of the book if we get to $5,000.
Oh, cool. So what are some of the really distinct features of the campaign setting itself?
Well, the campaign setting, we actually made it to be like a campaign toolkit, like a setting toolkit. I set like the major principles of the game setting, and a lot of tables for you to generate elements for it. And there's tables to generate what is in each sector, what's happening in each sector. But it's basically like a post-apocalyptic space setting. Like this, there's these past ages where there's really advanced society that spanned the whole known universe. They had advanced arts and philosophy and technology and communication, but a breach to the void was open, and this guy, known only as the first sorcerer, started to recruit others to learn about the sorcery and to really take over the power of the universe. So they started this really insidious campaign to infiltrate the authorities of the universe. And so it's collapsed into war, and one sector turning against each other, some sectors like hiding, and they're hiding still today. And there was really this phase of xenophobic wars between humans that consider themselves the pure race because of the sorcerers against other species. And well, now the universe is all fragmented. There's sectors that are dominated for each galactic overlord, or there's a sector dominated for the corporations that revolted against all the rulings for the old empire and help with the overlords to overthrow the empire. So they have their own sector to do whatever they want. And there is like a few free sectors, like the sector that overthrew the overlords, but there is a sector that really resisted the war, is like the outer regions, like the free sector, but it's all like savage and wild, like the frontier sector.
So the Wild Wild West.
Yeah, something like that. And technology is rare. Like you don't have Wi-Fi. You want to steal some data from a computer, you have to physically go there and connect to the terminal. there's these weird things that people don't know how to explain anymore. Like technology is almost like kind of magical, and portals to other dimensions because the insidious powers of the void start to corrupt reality and open passages to really other places and realities.
So, are there dragons in space?
Yes, there can be dragons. There is like cosmic space sharks that fly around the universe, devouring planets and things like that. So there could be dragons. There is a section in the book that talks about wonders and strange things of the universe. So there is this huge, like gigantic snake starship. They don't know really what it is, but it's really a gigantic snake that seems like a dragon that just devours stars and things. So, and sometimes it just pass around the planet, stare at it for a while and go away. But sometimes it's this sector not judged worthy, and it just devours everything.
So, okay, so Cardboard Fortress has a couple questions. One of them being, you mentioned it's more of a toolkit as far as what's there. So, do you have to fill in the blanks, or if you wanted to just run with a campaign setting, is there enough there to really not have to create?
Yeah, well, it has enough there for you to create, but you get to a new sector. So, what is the first thing they do? Just roll on the table. And there's all these locations ready for you to use. Like there is tools for you to create everything from the ground, but there's tools to just this sector is like this. So if you go to this sector, there's these elements, and you can roll on encounters, on locations, and things for you to use right away. So it's a setting that you can use on the table. It's not like a setting you read, you memorize all these names and locations, and you put it on the shelf. I find it really hard to use this kind of settings, like memorize everything that's here or there and there. So I really like this approach that I took from Yonsun and Hubris and other OSR settings. I like to, okay, you get to this new region, so let's see what you'll find. Let's see what's happening here now. This makes the setting dynamic too. It's not always the same thing.
So we touched on the magic system a little bit, and you said it's not like Vancian magic; it's a bit different. Do you want to dive into that a little more?
Yeah, sure. Characters start the game knowing like 3 spells, and they can cast it as they want. But it's like an attack roll and a skill test to cast it. You can try to cast it on the minimal level of power. It's really easier to cast on the basic power level. But if you try to, okay, you have this like energy projectiles kind of power. If you cast on the minimum level, you do 1d6 points of damage. But like if you're really in a tough situation, you want to try to do 5d6 points of damage, you'll try to cast it on a power level of 5. So that really increases your difficulty to cast the power. And if you fail the power, you have the option to lose the power for that day because you can't really concentrate in the force of chaos or interfering with your power, or you can accept a backlash. Something can happen to you. Maybe the power is used against a friend of yours, maybe it does some damage to you, or maybe something even stranger happens. If you have a critical failure, not only you suffer a backlash, but you suffer some kind of corruption. Maybe the flesh for your hands melt, or maybe you get marked by the force of void, and now you're identified as one of their servants. And probably people that don't like sorcerers will see you as a threat or as an enemy. So every time you cast a spell, it's like a choice. Do I really need to cast a spell? Can I solve this with something else? Like I like a phrase that is on the Dungeon Crawl Classics game is that this game doesn't have a light spell because it's much safer to just use a torch or a lantern. You're really messing with cosmic powers here. Do you really want to risk your soul to do light?
Maybe. Depends on how you feel about the dark. Carbon Fortress says they really feel like they could do a Laser Riders game within our world within your game, and you might wonder what is Laser Riders. Well, Laser Riders is a tabletop game. It's like Tron Light Cycles on tabletop, and they actually Cardboard Fortress actually they actually made the game. They're game designers themselves for Tabletop.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that. For a moment, I thought it was talking about Space Riders. There's this underground comic book that's I just found about after writing Summer Blazing Comic Spells, and then when I read it, I'm like, God damn, this is exactly my game. Like these comic books, it's exactly what I imagined for my game. And now I'm curious about Laser Riders.
Yeah, you can get that on ThinkGeek and Amazon and.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'll probably get when I go to US because shipping to Brazil is.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. When you're in Gen Con, you might be cheaper. Yeah, they they were demoing the games at Gen Con last year, as well.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, they actually play my D&D game, so it was cool. We actually got to play it when they were kind of still testing it. So it's a great game with a lot of like replayability.
Cool. If you have the link from if they sold on Amazon, if you can have a link to pass over to me, because I tried to find it and I didn't find it on Amazon. Maybe some other store. Geek, you said, right?
Yeah. I'll send you an Amazon link. Absolutely, you can definitely get it on there. But yeah, it does definitely fit kind of the feel of the game that you made, because it's very much like that. One of the characters is a cosmic shark.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about solar blades and cosmic spells, but what about your first game? You want to go into that a little bit in case people are interested? That sounds like that's definitely a little more heavily fantasy based.
Yeah, it's Sharpshooter and Sinister Spells is a pure sword and sorcery game. Like it's inspired by Robert E. Howard, Tales of Conan, Farfar and Grey Mouser from Fritz Leiber, Michael Moorcock. So basically, the core game just assumes that all characters are human, because that's what usually are the characters from Sword and Sorcery Tales. And it's basically the same thing. You have the archetypes, you have the warrior, the specialist, and the magic user. We don't have clerics, because sorcery is this force of chaos that corrupts and kills. So usually there's no magic healing, although magic users can have a spell that kind of heals, but actually steals vitality from one person to another. So if you really don't have any moral problems with stealing the life of someone else to heal yourself or your companions, it's up to you. But it's really a game about adventuring and earning treasure and glory and fame. It's more a game about adventurers and not heroes saving everything. Like I try to emulate the tales of Conan and Farfar and Grey Mouser. They are always after something for themselves or something for people they care about. Like you don't usually see Conan get into a village and the village being attacked and then hey, I'll save you. No, he's usually trying to get something for himself, and that's kind of the spirit of the game. And there's all these generators for you to generate adventure ideas and crazy stuff. Because Sword and Sorcery Tales are not really pure fantasy as we know today. Conan faced aliens, and Farfar and Grey Mouser entered a tower that seemed like something from all other dimensions, and maybe even the tower seemed like a construct, like a robot from the space or something like that. So the game really takes liberties putting even maybe spaceships and crazy stuff in the medieval world of the characters. But all this strange and fantastic stuff is really from something else. I didn't want to put fantastic races there because I wanted to make the fantastic something outside of the play characters.
So it's definitely a little more grittier, and the characters are definitely morally ambiguous at best.
Yeah. Yes. I like this scum of the society stuff. That's one of the reasons I really like the Han Solo character and Sword and Sorcery Tales. because it makes the character more personal. Like they're more interested in their own ambitions instead of being this sometimes artificial kind of characters. Like it's really hard to be out there to save everybody. I don't know.
It can be. It's definitely that could be a daunting thing to do. So
Yeah.
so
I think people still can be heroes, like, but you're really risking a lot being a hero. Like being a hero requires a lot of self sacrifice, and maybe you're not really good for that. I don't know. I really like the choice of being a hero being something the player chooses. Like, okay, you're going to risk a lot because old school games are really sometimes more lethal than normal fantasy games. So being a hero is really a hard choice to do, and I really like hard choices in my games. So okay, you're gonna be a hero, you're gonna risk a lot. Are you prepared for that?
sorry, I'm laughing because of the chat. Like I went to type the name "Sharp Swords and Sinister Spells" into the chat. I just totally dropped some letters there. But it's Sharp Spells and Sinister, or Sharp Swords and Sinister Spells. Sorry guys, I can't talk at all today.
And Sharp Swords and Sinister Spells, it's completely pay what you want. The PDFs pay what you want, and the physical versions is pay what you want too. So everybody can check it out and see how it goes and share their experience of the game.
The physical versions are pay what you want to?
Yes.
You're gonna starve to death making these games, man.
Well, the good thing is that I draw, so I have a lot of drawings that I use it myself, and fantasy games are really a lot of good stock art available that you can buy for not so much. So I was able to make a cool game with really cool artwork and not spend too much. And since it was my first game, I wanted to be really accessible. So unfortunately, Storm Blades, I won't be able to offer a pay what you want version because there isn't so much science fantasy artwork available, so I really have to commission art, and I wouldn't think the contributors would find fair for me to charge them on the Indiegogo and then offer it as pay what you want after. But I'm studying the possibility of making it available art-free version of the game, so to make the game accessible to people too.
So are you a full-time game designer now?
No, I really can't afford it here in Brazil.
That's because you're not charging for your game.
But I'm really starting. I don't think anyone that released their first game are going to survive as a game designer right away, right?
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So maybe I hope one day be able to live on that, but I have to keep my day job, and fortunately I have a day job that allows me to. I get there on time and I get out of there on time. I don't do extra hours and stuff, so I can on my own hours I can work on my own projects, and maybe one day I can live off that. But for now, I keep my steady day job and do things on my own. I try to work with children books, children literature, but it's really hard to in Brazil. And I got a steady job that allows me to work on things I like whenever I like, and I try to be really disciplined in it. Like every day, no matter what day it is, no matter what Sunday, it's holiday or anything, I will write something or I will draw something. I'm always working on my stuff because I don't wanna. I think it's like a muscle. I don't wanna get rusted. I wanna always be working on something.
Well, that's good. Carbon Fortress wants to know, after this game, what type of game do you want to attack next?
I'm already writing something. That's the setting toolbox for Sharp Sword and Sinister Spells, because Sharp Sword and Sinister Spells has the core book, the addendum has more tools and optional rooms, but doesn't have a setting toolkit like Stormblades. So I'm writing the setting for it. But after that, I'm probably going to work on a pulp era kind of setting, like Hollow Earth.
Okay.
With Atlanteans and robots and Nazis and dinosaurs.
Oh, nice. That sounds exciting.
Yeah, I started working on that and was getting really, really huge. And the idea for Sharp Swords came, and I wrote Sharp Sword really quickly. but I'm gonna get back to that now after that.
All right, so we are coming up on the hour mark. What is something you want to leave people with before we go?
Well, I really am passionate about the do it yourself community and the OSR, and I really like this philosophy of taking games and making our own stuff and saying, let's make games, let's share what we created with one another, let's try to make the industry our own. Like, I really like the idea of not depending on a publisher to have games. Like, I can get games from a guy from Italy, and he doesn't have any major publisher. I just can get the game, and with the print on demand stuff, I really think we live on a golden era of games. Like, everyone can share their creativity, and I find it really enriching. Like, one of the guys I based my game on took Sharp Swords and created another game based on it. So it's like we're always feeding on one another, and I find it really, really fascinating and really great. And I really love the community for that. And let's share more. Let's play more games that other authors. Let's talk about them, and let's support one another. I think it's really cool.
It's it's funny you should say that, because like I was talking to a friend who kind of started researching OSR games, and he just assumed they were just all a bunch of old grognards, and just didn't want to leave the past behind. And as he started digging deeper, what he discovered was, no, is like they like this old style of play and game, and it's like a super creative community where they're tinkering and tweaking and building new games, off of these other games.
Yeah, well, one thing of the guys that I most admire about in the OSR says it's like the OSR is really a well of creativity. We just choose not to reinvent the wheel. We can use this old structure that's really solid and recreate new things with it. They don't feel the need to recreate everything from the ground, but they create really interesting, creative ideas. Like, there is some really crazy stuff that I never thought was possible and came from the OSR. Like,
is there anyone in particular that you follow?
Well, Google Plus is like the haven for OSR people. So if you want to find out about stuff, just go there, start hanging around. There is this little list about people to follow on Google Plus. There's really people that put out really great stuff. But I'm really passionate about Dungeon Crawl Classics. I really like stuff from Lamentation of the Flame Princess, even though sometimes it's kind of polemical. They have some really creative stuff there. The zine community, like people creating zines, like in the 80s, on the 70s, they're printing their own stuff and shipping to one another, really brings the community together. And the DCC community has this Skunk Farmer Almanac, and every year, like all the community comes together and creates these 7-8 volumes of zines, like 60 pages, and just give it for free on Gen Con. Like, it's amazing.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on, Diego. I really appreciate you spending this time with us, and everyone who watched. Thanks. As always, in the description over on Facebook and YouTube, you can find links. Go check it out. Check out the Indiegogo. Support if you can. Head over to Drive Through RPG. Check out Sharp Swords and Sinister Spells. With that, until next time, folks. Stay nerdy.
Thanks a lot for having me too.